Alright, what's up guys, Garrett here, welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at how to deploy a React website to Firebase. If you don't know what Firebase is, it's basically like platform as a service. You can use it to host your website, you can use it as your backend, you can use it as a lot of other things. So if you don't know what it is, I highly recommend taking a look. It's not really going to be it's not going to be the focus of this video, but it is pretty cool. Maybe in some time I'll make a video on just what Firebase is and what the point is. So what we're going to be doing is it's kind of going to be split into two parts. The first thing is going to be deploying a website to Firebase. And the second thing is going to be creating a deployment strategy. And we're going to be using a CI/CD, stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline, to create that strategy and kind of manage it for us, so that we can eliminate the need to do it ourselves and therefore eliminate human error. This kind of, if you watch my video from yesterday when I talked about things that I want to learn in 2020, DevOps was one of them, and that kind of falls in line with DevOps. It definitely falls in line with DevOps, and it'll basically make our development process a whole lot easier. So let's take a look. The first thing we're going to do is go into our React website. Also, side note, in this video, it's just going to be the front end of our website for this video. We're going to be deploying the website that I've created for my app that I've been creating or been working on called Circle. I was going to do the full website, both front end and back end, from the series that I did a while back, creating a portfolio in React. But when I went to go and take a look at that, I realized that my SendGrid account is actually locked. And so nothing that we do will work, or we won't be able to tell if it worked. So we're not going to do that this time around. Next time, well, whenever that gets unlocked is when we'll do that video. So let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to run npm run build, and this is going to give us a build folder here inside of our React project, which will hold, when this is done, it will hold the production ready build of our website. So it looks like that's done. Great. Looks solid. Let's clear that. Next thing we're going to do is Firebase init. Now this, I'm using the Firebase CLI. If you don't have Firebase set up, go and do that. I'm not going to show how to do it in this video, but it is really easy. I will put a link to the documentation in the description. I will also make a note of doing that so that I don't forget. So now that I already have it installed, obviously. So we're going to run Firebase init, which is basically going to set this project up as a Firebase project. So we'll run that, and it'll ask us for a few things. The first is which Firebase services we want to use. So we're going to use the arrows, come on down to hosting, and we're going to hit the space bar and then enter to tell it that we want to use the hosting. Next is, do we want to use an existing project or create a new project, or add Firebase to an existing Google Cloud Platform project, or don't set up a default project. We're going to do the first one, which is use an existing project, because I already have this project set up in Firebase because I'm already actually using it in development for my app. So this is what the project is. We're going to hit OK. The next thing it's asking us is, it's basically saying when Firebase goes to deploy to Firebase, when we use the CLI to deploy to Firebase, where are we going to deploy from? We're not going to send the entire React project up with node modules and everything. Where are we going to deploy from? And the default is a public folder, which we actually have, but that's not what we want, because React builds or creates a build folder, and that's what we want to actually be deploying. So we're going to type in build. Next is configure as a single page app. We're going to hit yes, and then we're not going to override our index HTML, and it should be done. We're going to hit clear, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check out what this looks like right now. And this says make too many new friends, because I tried making this video before, adding the too many part and whatever. So right now it says make too many new friends, but you can never have too many new friends. So we're actually going to go and remove that. We're going to say just make new friends. And we will then use this command called Firebase deployed. Now, if you already have Firebase set up in your project, then you probably want to use this flag called only, and then type in hosting, which basically says that if you have, let's say, cloud functions in here, it's going to ignore the cloud functions and it's only going to deploy the hosting stuff not the Cloud Functions. Otherwise, you can just say Firebase deploy and it'll work just the same. So we're going to go and deploy that. Also, I should have pointed out that we have this Firebase file here and this Firebase file here. This is the actual configuration for the Firebase stuff. We're going to go and play around with that in a little bit, but for right now, we're not going to do that. So let's go back over here and moment of truth, make many new friends. And the reason that this didn't work is because, well, it did work, but not the way we really wanted it to. But the reason it didn't work is because we forgot to run npm build again, because I made a change to the actual code, and so we have to do npm run build. We just need to spell it correctly. It takes 2 seconds, not a big deal. If you are troubleshooting this and it's not working for you, that should be always, not just in this video while you're watching, but that should always be the first place you start. Make sure you actually updated what the build is, because just because you updated your code does not mean that the build got updated too, so make sure you do that. All right, now let's run Firebase. Can actually just do this. Firebase deploy -- only hosting. Let's do that again. Let's refresh this, and we're back to the way that it should be, just like that. So this works, which is really cool. You can easily, just like that, I mean, that was 8 minutes, and 5 of those minutes were probably me talking. So really quickly, you can set up a way for you to basically have, deploy your React app. Be it it's only the front end, but still, you can do that, and then you can use something like maybe Firebase Functions to have the back end. Now, let's take a look at this deployment strategy though, because that was great, but we still, even though Firebase even though Firebase did the most of it for us, we just had to run a simple command. Really, we don't want to do anything. We just want to push up to Git like normal, and then we want to have Git do the rest of it for us. And we're going to use something called a CI/CD pipeline to be able to do that for us. So to do that, we're going to come back to our project, and we are going to do a couple things. Number one is we're going to create a new folder, and this is going to be .gitlab. Now also note, I'm going to be using GitLab for this. If you don't use GitLab, that's fine. There are other options out there for CI/CD. There's like Circle CI. There's GitHub might have a CI ability. I don't know. And then also actually Google has their own CI stuff. So if you want to stay within Google or AWS, you can totally do that. I'm going to be using GitLab. I recommend you use GitLab because I've had a great experience with them so far. I'm not sponsored to say that, but I've had a really good experience with them so far. They also offer a good amount for free. And their whole focus is on DevOps. So it's not just about having a Git repository in the cloud. They also have a lot of awesome stuff that you can use for DevOps. And a CI/CD stuff is one of those things. So we're going to type in GitLab CI and then -YAML. Did I spell that right? Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. Rename that. And I knew it wasn't right because there wasn't the right icon. The next thing that we're going to do is we need to basically give our CI/CD runner, it's called, a way to actually log in to Firebase. So what happens right now is on our computer right now, right here, I'm already logged in. I'm logged in as Garrett Love because that's who I am. That's what my user is, like the account and everything in the project is tied to. But we don't want to give access to our CI pipeline to be able to do that. What we want to do is we want to give it a special token that it's going to be able to use to basically log in to Firebase and do stuff on our behalf. And the command that you're going to do to get that is Firebase login and then CI. So basically Firebase knows that people want to do this, and so they're giving you a special way to be able to log in with a CI pipeline. So you run that. I already have done that, so I'm not going to do it again because I don't want to mess anything up. Not that I don't think it would mess anything up, but it'll give you the token that you need, and then you could come over here to your settings inside of GitLab. So this is what my GitLab looks like. Really quick, right? It looks, I would say, pretty similar to GitHub because that's probably what most of you are used to. It looks pretty similar to GitHub. So we'll come in here. This is my project. We'll now go to Settings, CI/CD. And if we scroll down to Variables, you can see I already have it in there. I'm not going to click in there because I don't know if it'll show up, and I don't really want anyone to be able to see it. But basically, you're going to create this key that's called Firebase_token. And then you will come here and you'll get the new variable, or not variable, the new token down here, and you'll put that in as the value, and you'll make sure that variable is selected there, okay? Now, what's gonna happen is, and this, you can see it's been working for me, right? So that's pretty cool. So now what'll happen is we have that set up on the GitLab side. The next thing that we need to do is actually set up this file to be able to tell GitLab what to do. So what we'll do is we'll set up something really quick just to be able to demonstrate that this CI/CD stuff does work to some extent. So to do that, we will have a couple of properties inside of this YAML file. The first one is going to be the image, and I'm going to copy and paste this because it's a name that I don't really want to mess up spelling. There it is. So pause the video, take a look at how that's spelled, but that's basically an image. An image is essentially, I think, a Docker container in this case. That's basically a predefined environment that says, hey, we want you to run all of this stuff inside of this predefined environment. So in this case, this is Firebase. So Firebase is predefined inside of there. It's all there. We don't have to worry about getting Firebase and initializing it and any of that stuff. We don't want to do that. We just want it to be there. The next thing we're going to do is define the stages. Also, YAML, always use spaces, not tabs. You'll get messed up if you use tabs. But we want to actually create a build stage, and we're also going to create a deploy stage later on. But just to demonstrate that the build stuff does work, or that the CI stuff does work, we're going to do this. Now we're going to create a job. So a stage, you can have as many stages as you want, I think. But the most common would be, let's say, build, actually building your project to see if it works, and then test. So if you've written any automated tests, it's going to run all of your tests for you, and it's going to run them all in the same environment every single time. And then the deploy, which is actually what's going to, in our case, deploy to Firebase. So we'll come here and we will say stage. So now what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a job. A job is basically something that it has to do. And you can have as many jobs as you want for each stage, and it's essentially going to run all of the commands or all of the instructions that you provided inside of that job. If it's successful, it'll move on to the next job, and if it fails, it'll tell you it failed. It'll give you the error of like all the history and the tracking and everything, so that you can make sure that it's done right every single time. So we're going to have this stage, and this is going to be build, and then we will have a script, which is essentially the actual commands that we want it to execute on our behalf. So in our case, we're going to do npm install, and then we will do npm run build. We're not going to do any caching here, although you could do caching, probably should do caching. We're not going to do that in this video, but you can do that. So that's it right now. Let's push that up. Add Firebase and CI. Let's push that up, git push, and we will see if it works or not. YAML invalid. Okay, so just now this got pushed up. It says YAML invalid stage. Unknown keys stage. Oh, stages, that's why. Because this should be plural stages. Let's try that again. We'll say correct YAML git push. Let's go back here. You see it's pretty instant, right? So this should get there sometime soon. So we can see that this is now running our build, and it does take a few minutes. It could take 1 minute. It could take 3 minutes. Generally, every time there's a new stage, it kind of increases in time. And of course, depending on what you're doing, it will also increase in time. So I will come back when this is done. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, the stage, which was just to build it, passed no problem. So that means that, awesome, our CI stuff is actually working right now. So that's pretty cool. Let's go and create a new stage, and we will call this deploy develop. Deploy develop. Actually, no, let's just call this deploy for right now. So what we'll do is we will say that this is a part of the deploy stage, which also we have to add. So let's now add a new stage called deploy. This will be part of the deploy stage, or this will be a job inside of the deploy stage, and we'll create some scripts for that. For these scripts here, let's have npm install. Next, we will do npm run build. We need a space. Next, this is the fun part. We're going to be doing npm Firebase use and then the name of our project. So in my case, it is this here. And then we will have -- token, because we basically now, that token that we created before for the CI like login thing, this is now where that comes into play, where we want to be able to say, hey, Firebase, you don't have to log in like normal. Just use this token that we're going to pass in the variable for from GitLab, and then you can basically use that. So token, and then this will be whatever you called it here. So in my case, I called it Firebase token. So if you called it something else, then you're going to want to go and copy that. And then $, paste it in like so. And then new line, Firebase deploy -- only hosting. And then we can also give it a message. And this is kind of cool. I'll show you where that comes up. We can do pipeline. And then here, CI, whoops. Pipe, that's not spelled right. Pipeline ID, and then we can have build, and then this will be the build number, CI build _ID, and then we'll also give it the token. You have to do this for every single command here for Firebase. So token, we'll just add this here, and this should be it for deploying. So let's go ahead over to here and we'll say Firebase. We're just going to add something to this code so that we can see that it actually changed and then it actually worked properly. And we will say test changed, test Firebase CI deploy. Now we need to npm run build. Oh, actually, no, we don't have to do that. I forgot. So I forgot we no longer have to do this build thing down here, because what's going to happen is that when we push it up, it's going to build it for us as we've defined it to do right here, right? So if we just run git push, that should be okay. And we should now see here, there will be a two-step process instead of a one-step process, which you can see right there. So this is going to take a little bit longer, probably a few minutes. I will come back when these either pass, hopefully, or fail, because I guess that's still an option here. So I'll see you in a little bit. Looks like we successfully went through both of these stages here. So let's go and refresh this and see if it worked. It did indeed, and all we had to do basically now is go and say commit our changes and git push, and then our CI pipeline will do the rest of it for us. We don't have to do anything. The last thing I want to do is I want to show you guys how to basically have a development website and a production website, your public website that you're using. So as you can see in my Firebase project here, I have two different websites. And in this website here, which is my main one, I didn't really name it that well, but it's my main website. I have these URLs that Firebase gives you, and then I've also have my custom one, right? My circle.com. And you can quickly add a domain name. It's really simple. You just go through this process that they show you. It's not really what this video is about. but it's pretty simple to do. I didn't really do anything. You literally just, you add the domain name, you add an A record to your name cert, like to your registrar thingy, and then it's done basically. And it just takes some time for it to update and basically recognize the website. So lastly, right, so we have that, and then we have this development site that I have that we're also going to use. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to set it up so that every time we push to our develop branch, our develop website will be updated. And every time we push to our master branch, which will never happen directly, but every time that we merge develop into master, it'll then go through the same process and it'll update, it'll update our live website, or not live, they're both live. It'll update our public website, our production website. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to have two jobs, so we're going to add another one after this. So we have this one right here, which is fine, that's good. The thing is, we're going to add a new line, and I have to look over here at my notes to see what I typed. We're going to have Firebase target apply. So basically, we're saying we're creating within your Firebase project, you can have two different websites. And what we're doing is we're creating a target for where it should, like basically which website it should point its deployment to, right? So target apply, hosting, and then develop, which is the name of our, like that's the developer given name that we're going to refer to this target as. And then we're going to say circle dash dev. And circle dash dev, if you're wondering where I got that from, one of my websites, my dev website right here is called circle-dev. And if you want to make a new website, you literally just hit this button, add this, and this is the name that you're adding in there. So whatever you type, that's what you're adding in there. So circle-dev, that's what I'm going to be adding in. You should add in whatever it is that you need to add in based on what you're calling it. Don't call it the same thing that I am. And then what we're going to do is we will have the same thing right here, the actual like deploy thing, but we're going to deploy it to a certain location, and that location is going to be develop, which is the name that we gave this target right up here. So what we're doing, just to reiterate that, is we're adding a new line that creates a target, and the target is basically which resource, in this case, which website do you want this deploy to go to. So we're creating a target, calling it develop, and then we're saying this deploy should go to our develop website, which is this website here. After that, we're going to take this. Actually, we're not done yet. Hold on. We're also going to have this only thing. And this basically is the magic part that's going to say only deploy to our develop website if this is running on, if this like push is to the develop branch. And that's actually all we have to do right there. And then by that logic, we can just have it be like that. I don't know why I didn't have it like that before. All right, so now we're going to do this again. Oh, we're also going to rename this develop or deploy develop. We're going to copy that. We'll create a new job here also as part of the deploy branch, or deploy stage rather. And the reason we can do that is because only one of them is going to run. Both will never run. We'll change this to be called production. We'll change this branch to be the master branch, and that can stay the same. This now is going to be called production, and it's also going to be changed to this website here. So right here. And then we will also update this to be called production. Okay, now in theory, well, not in theory, that's all we have to do. So we're going to now change this so that we can say added staging and production deployment strategy. And now in theory that should work. So let's go, oh no, sorry, we have to do one more thing here. And that one more thing is we have to update our hosting. So right here, we now have this object for hosting. And so this is a website that we've created. What we now need to do is basically create another one. So we're going to make this into an array instead. We now have the opportunity to have more than one website here. And so this thing right here, this object right here, is a website. That's who it's referring to. And so what we want to do is we want to add another one, which is why we turned that into an array. This hosting property, we made that into an array, and we're going to have multiple things on there, multiple websites. So we will add the target property, and we're going to call this based on what we created here in our targets here. So in this case, we have develop, right? And we'll have one more that we need to create, and that will be production, because that's what we called it right here. So production. We'll add that. Now we'll go over here and we will say added production and develop website to Firebase config. Now let's push that but first. Let's change this and we will say Firebase develop. Now what's going to happen, if this works correctly, what will happen now is that this one, which is circle-dev at the app. Well, actually, let me get the other one. Not that it makes a difference, but just to be consistent. This is our production one right here. You can tell because it has these weird numbers. I don't know why. And then, and letters too. And then this one, which is circle-dev, will be our development. So we're going to now push this. Push. Oh, man. So now what we've done is we've gone in here and said Firebase develop. The other thing we have to do, because I just got an error because I accidentally pushed this up and saw that I got an error. Right here, we're going to take this back, this only property right here. That needs to be an array. So switch it back to be an array like so. Now let's commit these changes. Deployment test. Now what's going to happen, or what should happen, is that when we push this up right now, only our develop website should reflect these changes because we pushed to our develop branch. Our master branch website, which is this one right here, this is our main website, should only say make Firebase friends. It shouldn't say anything else. But this one, which currently says make new friends because we've kind of been neglecting this one, should say make Firebase develop new friends. Okay? Let's see what happens. I push this up, so this is kind of going through. We'll see what happens in a little bit. Okay, so we have some success now. It says everything works, so let's go on over. We'll check out our main website, which is the one that people would be able to see. And this, in fact, is not updated. It still has the original stuff. Now, we'll check out this one, and this should say Firebase deploy or develop. It should say one of the two. Let's see. There we go. So it did, in fact, work. You can see the difference here. It worked exactly the way we wanted it to. Now, the last test that we want to make here is we want to see if we can create a new merge request so that we can merge develop into master, which will basically allow us to update or deploy a new version to our actual production website. So let's go ahead and do that right here. Test deploying to main to submit the merge request. I will go ahead and merge this in. And now this will go through that same pipeline again, and this time it'll deploy to master, and essentially this should be updated, well, this is already updated, but then this will reflect the changes that were just made inside of our develop branch. Okay, so our pipeline is now finished. Let's take a look and see this website right here, which again is our master one, should match this one here. So if we refresh that, we do indeed get a match here. We can click back and forth. Perfect. That is exactly what we wanted. And so now you essentially have seen how to deploy to Firebase hosting with just doing the way that Firebase allows you to deploy. And now you've also seen how to actually set up a CI/CD pipeline so that you can essentially have a little bit better DevOps. It'll just be a better experience for you. Every time you just do a git push up to your remote repository, at least to develop and master, it'll essentially just deploy the website for you, which will be a way better development experience, and it'll actually take a big load off of you as the developer, especially if you're a solo developer like me. It'll make it a lot easier for you to do things, a lot more streamlined, and just a more correct standard way of doing things. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're not already. And also let me know down in the comments, what did you think about this video? Did you like it? Do you have any questions? Was it clear enough? Because I know I explained everything, but I don't know if I explained everything that well. So let me know if there's things that are unclear. If a lot of things are unclear, I'll make another video. Hopefully everything works out. And yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.